Hello, this is Dr. Jeff Craig, Superintendent for West Aurora Schools, and welcome back to another monthly board recap. Today we'll be highlighting the November meetings, and as you remember, we usually have a three-step process in our board meetings of information, discussion, and action items, and those happen at each subsequent meeting. And then every board meeting we have a recognition for those who make a difference. So let's get right to it. Our November board meeting, our November 4 board meeting took place, and we highlighted those who make a difference in Goodwin Elementary's PTO Executive Board for their support of the 50th Anniversary Playground Initiative. This was presented by Mr. Bob Halverson, our principal at Goodwin Elementary School. And then we get to the information portion. In every meeting, we start off with our school improvement plan for each of our schools. And November meeting, or the November 4 meeting, was our Goodwin Elementary School, and that was presented by Mr. Bob Halverson, our principal at Goodwin Elementary School. Then we had the district's ESSA plans, and that's ESSA is an acronym, ESSA, and that's Every Student Succeeds Act, which has replaced the No Child Left Behind plan. And then those plans and that update on challenging learning was presented to the board for step 1 information by Dr. Brent Raby, who was our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and Mrs. Liz Wendell, our Director of Assessment. We also had a proposed update on Board Policy 4.020, which was presented for consideration. Now, this policy refers to our fund balance levels that correspond to a portion of our budget. The current policy and the proposed revised policy were both attached for board information. And this was presented by Angie Smith, who was our Assistant Superintendent of Operations. Also presented was the 2019 tax levy information was presented to the board by Ryan Abrahamson, our Director of Finance. And then we had the tax levy year 2019 abatement of taxes that was presented to the board as a step 1 for information by, once again, our Director of Finance, Mr. Ryan Abrahamson. Important to note for this piece, for the abatement, and that was regarding our Q bonds. If you remember, when we were pursuing our referendum process back in 2014 and 2015, we spent an entire year accessing QZABs, QECBs, and QSCBs, and those are our Q bonds, and that's really what it means to our taxpayers is of all the interest that's accrued in our $84.2 million principal, there was $50 million that our taxpayers will not have to pay back on interest because of these Q bonds. Really important chunk. We also had an update on recent community events and efforts that was presented by our very own Director of Community Affairs, Mrs. Ana Gonzalez. Into the discussion portion, an update on capital projects throughout the district was presented to the board for discussion by Mr. Pat Callahan from Studio GC Architects. In terms of our action items, the Board of Education approved the 2019 tentative tax levy that was presented, and then they will hold a vote because we have to have it on public display by law for a certain amount of time. They will vote on the final adoption at the December 10, 2019 regular Board of Education meeting. Then we move into our second board meeting of the month, November 18th. Those who make a difference. The board recognized Ms. Joni Roos, who was our Freeman Crossing Guard. She just did a phenomenal job. She serves the school community and keeps the students safe to and from school. And this was presented by Crystal Dvorak, our principal at Freeman Elementary School. And then as we move into the information portion of the meeting, the school improvement plan for Freeman Elementary was presented to the board by Crystal Dvorak, once again our principal at Freeman Elementary. Also in information was the proposed request for information to be shared with vendors associated with the scheduled serve and storage refresh process for school year 2021. And that was presented to the board as a step 1 info by Mr. Don Ringelstein, our Director of Technology. Also, we had the bid information specifications and lease pricing for the school bus refresh that was presented to the board as a step 1 for information by Ms. Lynn Head, our Director of Transportation. An update on recent community events and efforts was presented to the board by Mrs. Ana Gonzalez, our Director of Community Affairs. In the discussion portion, we had the second phase of the Field of Dreams project at West Aurora High School, and that was presented to the board for discussion by Mr. Pat Callahan, once again from Studio GC, who's one of our architects. Also in discussion was the 2019 tax levy information that was presented to the board for further discussion by Ryan Abrahamson, our Director of Finance, which is a step 2. And then our tax levy year 2019 abatement of taxes was presented to the board as a step 2 as well by Mr. Ryan Abrahamson. And there's to conclude this meeting, we had no action items. So that concludes our November recap, and we look forward to talking to you next month about our meeting in December. And in December, we only have one board meeting to recap for you. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed the information.